Tao's not aware of this, but I am wearing my ho-ho purple Festivus hat. Dennis, welcome in from Coons Florida Security Boulevard, and a early morning for me on Monday, but always worth the 5:55 a.m.er to come back here when the Indianapolis Colts are coming here this week. Festivus, I'm going to get the purple lights. I'm going to stream the purple lights here before the week's over. Are the purple lights hanging over there at Coons Ford, Dennis?
Oh, we have purple lights, purple clothes. We're always decked out in purple, particularly on Fridays, but lately almost every day as our Ravens are making a playoff push, and we're very excited about their prospects.
Can I just ask you, look, we'll recap the game, we'll break it down. How many people are going to be at the game Saturday? I mean, it's a little bit of a weird holiday, right? But it's not really the holiday. Most people don't have plans on the 23rd, not the 24th. But it's still a Saturday. It's the last day before, last day to get stuff done. It's in the middle of the day. If you want to get down there and tailgate, it's going to break it up and be a different kind of day. What are we looking at Saturday here? The biggest game we've played at home in several years, right? Like literally, right? This is a playoff game, kind of, sort of. There should be a little bit of extra something for the horseshoe for all of us, I would think, and I'm writing about that this week, but I am very, very civically concerned that I need to be the purple torchbearer at this point. I'm not going to be like real fan Dan and take my shirt off and shake around, but anything short of that I'm willing to do this week so that the stadium's actually full, because I do miss the third down advantage we had around here.
Well, Fan Dan needs to do some hot yoga like you do, because I'd rather see you take off your shirt than Dan. Dan's got to do some cardio. He's got to get in the gym. But with that said, for me,
I do look better without my shirt than I've looked. So, I mean, I'd be more willing to do that now than when I was like 39. I mean, I'm on the mat 4 days a week here, Dan. I am.
Well, that's good, because Dan is quite a sight. I mean, he gets us all going, but he is he's Baltimore all the way, and that's putting it kindly. But for me personally, I've sold all my tickets to Ravens fans because I can't go. Saturday's my biggest sales day of the week. But at 4 p.m., I have rented an 80-inch TV set that I'm bringing in for my customers and for my employees. So that way, look, we can keep the big eye on business and the little eye on the game. That way we can support here at the store. But again, I've had a lot of my friends that want to go to this game, so I'm hopeful that we can see a packed, sold-out stadium getting right behind the Ravens and putting these clowns away by halftime and celebrating in that second half.
Dennis, this week I'm writing a three-part piece, and the ghost of Baltimore football past, the ghost of Baltimore football present and future, and I think the future is always the weirdest part for this. But I went out to Cleveland over the weekend, and I saw... honestly, if they gave you the turnstile, they might give you the turnstile at 13.5. If you were asking me the over-under on how many people came to the stadium, I would say 13,500, and that is my, 40 years of viewing this, knowing what a 70,000-seat stadium looks like. I would put it at 13.5, and I wouldn't bet the over, but it wasn't 5,000 people either, but it wasn't 20. I promise you that, and we saw that. I mean, did you go to any Colts games in 81 or 82 or 83?
Oh, absolutely. I had season tickets as a young man, and I set up in section number 34, and there was 25,000 of us faithful season ticket holders that were there in the waning years of the Irsay ownership, Irsay tenure, and it was tough because especially when the Steelers came to town, they would dominate the stadium, be 35,000 of them and 25,000 of us. But it's very odd how Cleveland, being without football for 3 years, has been reduced to a game with 13,500 fans. That is absolutely ridiculous, and I understand where you're going with this.
Well, and I'm concerned for us and for our community, and I think it's a legitimate conversation to have for those people that have taken all the purple out of their man caves. I don't know what the hell they're going to put down there now. I mean, a bunch of penguins or Orioles. I don't, who knows? But I did a contest here 10 years ago, a purple basement contest. Sylvia won. Hey to Sylvia out there. She's still my Facebook friend and whatnot. And, I went to people's homes and I saw how many homes were dead. And this is before the second Super Bowl, Dan, right? So this is in that 06, 07, 08 period where, McNair had things going good around here. And I think everybody here remembers that night that Peyton Manning beat us. That was probably the darkest Well, I mean, the Cundiff thing, I mean, I don't, as John Harbaugh once said, we'll never get over that. But
right.
the Manning loss in 06 is as bad a loss as I have felt emotionally. My wife has videotaped early video. No, it was 2006. We all didn't have phones then, right? But of me blubbering, literally blubbering after the game about the loss. So, I go through all of this and I say, well, where are we now? Where are we now is that it's a playoff game. It's Christmas week. Indianapolis Colts are coming in, and there's a lot of things that have happened since, let's say, 06 and now for the passion of football fans here. And I am very, very concerned that, the passion waned. If I were writing the book on the Colts, then you would agree that really things changed when Rosenblum traded the franchise. That would be the tectonic plates. That would be the jumping of the shark. But what really happened after that, Unitas aged, the Burt Jones era came in, and this guy didn't know what he was doing, right? And they had a couple of years of prosperity, and it all went to hell in a handbasket because this guy was landing helicopters in Jacksonville, and all of that happened to chase people away. And it was very, very legitimate, Den, that your parents, my parents, were pissed about how all of that went down in the 70s and the 80s. But for me, with these tickets that are sold for the game this week, I'm really having a hard time understanding what people are trying to do. Are you trying to wreck the city? Are you trying to wreck the franchise? Are you feeling good that you're getting even with the I mean, that's this venom that I sense out in social media is disturbing to me, to say the least, in regard to the football team.
Well, the Ravens had a better crowd this last time out than the prior game, so it seemed like it's building back up again, Nestor. I think there's a segment of the fan base that has gone away and is not coming back. That's why, if I'm the organization, I'm looking to market to the younger people, because I think that's where the NFL is missing its mark right now. They're just not getting the 20, 30-year-olds as excited as we were back in the day, if you will, between the era where we lost the Colts and we gained the Ravens.
But how does it matter to them? The biggest pay. How do you and I? My son is 33, right? Like, my son doesn't go to the games. He's a Ravens fan. He has no. If he were a millionaire, I don't think he would go. You know what I mean? Like, he went to the games as a kid. I brought him up on it. I mean, everybody knows my son, and everybody says, "Hey, your son hasn't been to the games in a couple of years." Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, my son watches on TV with his wife at home, and it's like that's where he watches football now. And I mean, I guess if there was an AFC championship game here, he might want to go, right? I mean, I guess he would hit me up at that point. We'd make it a family affair. But for him, $100 on a Sunday afternoon just ain't where he is at 33. And, you have a son that's a little younger than my son, Peter, the people we know of that age. Until it matters like that to them, then, Brooks Robinson once wrote me a note that I'm going to share publicly at some point in my life. I got it on my computer. I could sit here and read it to you. But he shared a note with me like 10 years ago. I asked him to come out and do a Nice Guy Awards or do an event with me for charity. And he wrote me back. He's like, my time's done. And, essentially the younger guys have to do this. That if it's going to keep going, if it's going to matter, there needs to be the pick-me-up. And I really feel like the Ravens, as an organization, when I'm talking about the alumni, Brian Billick being a partner in this company, in this radio station. Brian Billick is a prime mover as to why WNST still exists in the format it exists in at this point to benefit living classrooms. All that, Ray Lewis has done here, all that John Ogden does here, all that, I saw Jarrett Johnson the other day, Femi Abendejo lives, Kyle Richardson married my childhood friend, Dawn Jones. I mean, there's, I don't know what you want. You know what I mean? I guess for me, at the end of all of this, at the end of the week, when I'm doing the ghost of the past, which is obvious, the ghost of the present, which is the knee, and all of the issues that go into why people aren't going to the games, and CTE. I mean, I can go through all of it. How it catches and a catch. I mean, how do you wake up Monday a Steelers fan after what the hell happened there at the goal line? So, I mean, so they got a lot of the greed that's all obvious from the NFL perspective and moving. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be disenfranchised, but what does that mean for the future, for the stadium, and for renegotiating a lease in now 9 years? All of a sudden the stadium went from new to, hey, we're pushing 25, it'll be 30 soon, and where's the franchise? And do we have 42,000 people in that stadium in 2023? I don't know, Den, but I'm worried. This is the first sort of shifting of those plates And you can look throughout the league. You get out of Tennessee, there's always empty seats. Jacksonville, I mean, these markets that the league went. St. Louis is gone, right? I mean, St. Louis is literally gone as a market at this point. So, I mean, the league's not screwing around. If you don't come out and support the franchise, the team will be in London by the time, our kids have grandkids, right? I mean, or wherever that'll be, because there are 3 teams sandwiched in here, and there's only so much money to go around. And Baltimore doesn't have a Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 companies around here, putting out skybox money and all the stuff that powers a franchise. What's powered this franchise here has been the passion of the people. And if that goes away, Dan, all bets are off. There's a history here, and that's why I'm bringing Ebenezer Scrooge McNasty McUrsay back this week. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think let's follow the money, Nestor, not from the bottom up as you're trying to do. Let's look at it from the top down. And all we need to do is look at the new contract that the owners gave Roger Goodell. They just gave this man $200 million for a league that's struggling, for a league that's going down. Now, why did they do that? Well, they did that on the strength of Goodell's being able to negotiate a favorable CBA the last time out. They have a new one coming up in 3 years. That's the guy they want at the negotiating table working for them. Never mind if people on the stands. It's all about the TV revenue. As long as the TV revenue is so strong, as long as those seats are paid for, Nestor, I don't think they care. And they shouldn't care because it's all about the bottom line. Now, for guys like me and you, yes, we should care. And the other part of it is talking about your son. My son's 22. Generations overlap about every 25 years. This new generation, the millennials coming up, they don't think like you and I. They're space people. They're way out there. And I'm saying that in a good way, but even here at work, they want a life-work-play balance. They're not going to be workaholics. Same thing with, they're not going to tie up an entire day at the stadium. They're not going to tailgate, not when they can stay at home, watch it, and have some other what they perceive to be quality time with their families. They're watching games on streaming device. They're watching them on their telephones or tablets, stuff that you and I, wouldn't think about doing. So I think
there's a sense of community that sat at this thing, right? It said Baltimore on it, right? And we were ready to fight people from Pittsburgh or Philadelphia or Washington about that 20 years ago. These kids aren't like that. Right. They're not thinking about the community in Baltimore in that way that we got these stadiums built on the backs of our forefathers and my father and our tax dollars and Governor Schaefer and all that, so that we could have this experience. And when this experience no longer becomes valuable, you become the San Diego Chargers parking lot, or that dome, the Edward whatever thing they were calling it out in St. Louis, which is now an empty convention hall with with permanent seats. So that's for all of us to figure out. I mean, I weigh that with this guy that owns the baseball team. I weigh that all the time and saying, at what cost? I mean, who's really made out by the Baltimore Orioles sticking around here in the modern era, or the Baltimore Ravens ever coming here? But I'll tell you that the Ravens have given us a whole lot more of whatever that thing is than the Orioles have, and people have just sort of backhanded it here over the last 8 or 10 weeks, and I'm just trying to get to the psychology of where this thing's going, because that's why I'm bringing the ghost of the past to the ghost of the future, because who is going to inhabit those seats, and what is going to become of the stadium and our investment in what this was supposed to represent when it came here 22 years ago.
Again, if I'm Steve Bisciotti, Nestor, I focus on putting the best product on the field that I possibly can. We go up north a few miles to Philadelphia. You got a Carson Wentz. They get a bunch of receivers around him, solid offensive line, strong running game. They start ripping off wins, and they pack the stadium. That's what needs to happen here in Baltimore. We just don't have the Ed Reids, the Ray Lewises anymore, the Anquan Bolds, that star power that we had in years past. Until they get some of those players that can fill up the stadium, that's when we go to see the superstars. And we lack that star power, the top-end power. That's what this team needs to bring in here, either via free agency or through the NFL draft. Once you get that done, the team starts going 12-4, maybe has a home playoff game that we haven't had one since, God knows when. That 06 loss to the Colts, that was the worst home loss, period, by this organization. We were all stunned and numb. That was, 5 field goals to 2 field goals. It was like watching paint dry. It was a terrible game by our offense. And that one left the mark. That was the worst home loss in Baltimore's Raven history. And you know what? And you want it to hurt and you want it to sting because it shows you how much you care as a fan. that care has gone away for a number of reasons the last few years. But if I'm the Ravens, I'm working very, very hard to bring some star power to this team, start making the playoffs consistently again, and bringing back the fans. And it's that new generation, the 20, 30-year-olds that they have to market to. You and I already love the franchise. We already love the organization. They have us. Who they don't have is guys like your son and my son. And that's what they have to go after.
You said star power. I mean, there really was something about Ray Lewis dancing, right? That made it, the hit single that was playing Stairway to Heaven or whatever. That was something that isn't there it was always there from the beginning, right? From the train and all that stuff out of Memorial Stadium, he started doing the squirrel. And then the squirrel stops and there really is no replacing that. I mean, you can win football games, you can do all that, but the theatrics that went around that Hulk Hogan ripping the shirt off moment, right? I mean, I don't know what else to compare it to, right?
But that would go a long way to packing the stadium again. We went those pregame announcements when Ray came out of that tunnel. We were all on our feet, just cheering our lungs out. It had to be very menacing for the opposition to see all these 72,000 crazies screaming while Ray, worked us up into a fever pitch. I'm getting chills just thinking about it, Nestor. We just don't have it anymore. I mean, Terrell Suggs is a great player, a probable first-ballot Hall of Famer, but he just doesn't have an appeal that Ray Lewis had. He just doesn't have the charisma that Ray had. And we went to the stadium to see him and Reed and just scream Reed every time they introduce Reed.
Or Heap, or Goose,
right.
or any of that stuff. But, I mean, we had the Chain Gang, all the stuff that would make our experience and the band being featured. The band,
sure.
I don't know what's happened to all of that, and I don't know why it's melted away. But a lot of the things we longed for 22 years ago when the team came here, the team has delivered on that. The franchise has delivered on that. The people involved, and again, I go back to Coach Billick and my relationship there. But, I mean, you listen to the radio station here, and how many Mike Flynn's are there? How many times does Goose come back? When David Modell passed, Michael McCrary lives here. I see him all the time. I mean, the Adelis Thomases who come back, and even Chris McCall, the alumni, and what that represents in the community and what the parades represent. And it is the one thing in this community that's not black or white or rich or poor or east or west or Jew or Gentile or east or west. It literally is everyone. You could be from Calvert Hall or Dundalk. You could be from the Country Club or from the Docks. You could be from the west side or the east side. And the Ravens were the one thing we share here. And I think, given where we are as a society right now, I think it's even more important that something like the Ravens not dissipate and go to the side of the curb and suddenly become the Jacksonville Jaguars,
I will say this, Nestor. There is a silver lining here, and here's what it is. I'm selling tickets to fans right now that couldn't afford to go to games before. I'm selling them at half price. So what happens? So I think there is a chance that fans who have never been to football games in the past, if they get a good experience and the people that I've sent to the game there's a chance that those fans, when the other fans come back, you could still pack that stadium again. So it's my belief that as long as they keep winning, if they have a good offseason and a good draft and a good free agency and they get back to their winning ways consistently, this franchise may be able to come out even better long term. Because sometimes, when you have a storm, you're going to come out different. And hopefully, if I'm the Ravens, I'm looking, how can we get better as a result of this storm?
Well, that's why I'm writing about the future, Dents. I hope you read the piece out there. I'm doing the Ghost of Baltimore Football Past, Present, and Future. The Ghost of Baltimore Football Past is on its way in here this week in the form of the Indianapolis Colts. Den, a few thoughts about the game on Sunday. I know it wasn't as treacherous, especially once they sort of gained control. But a lot of things like not being able to punch the ball in at the goal line. But a lot of good things. Punting the ball well. Defense is still playing well. Offense is coming together. There are some targets. Perryman caught a pass. I mean, there were a lot of steps forward on Sunday as I see it,
Look, if they can figure out the vertical game, this team can go a long way in the playoffs. Make no mistake about it. They may be peaking at the right time as other teams are suffering injuries. We saw Antonio Brown get carted off the field the other night. A calf injury. He's out for a game or two. A lot of things can happen. It's a game of attrition. It's also a game of momentum. And right now, the Ravens, doesn't matter who they're playing, they can't apologize that their opponents are weak. As long as they keep going and keep playing, once you get in the playoffs, they could be a very tough out, and that's what I'm excited about.
Well, even though the game wasn't great at 1 o'clock, I will say that Patriot-Steeler game for a literal battle between, the ISIS and the Al-Qaeda of my football kingdom that I really don't. I mean, I guess I'd rather have the Steelers win at this point, but don't, wash my mouth out with soap like a Christmas story, for even thinking that. But I can't imagine, like, at the goal line, that ball and that pass, and then Roethlisberger gives the game away on this stupid faux spike thing that that the Patriots won a Super Bowl on, 3 years ago as well. I don't know what to say other than we're going to be talking about that play, those series of plays for the next 5 weeks leading back to Foxborough or Pittsburgh for our organization, for Jacksonville, whomever it is, that the entire arc of the season turned in a minute and a half on Sunday in Pittsburgh. It was really kind of incredible. I mean, I don't know that we've had that much drama, really. And you talk about the reasons to love football. My God. That was the reason to love it and the reason to hate it, with the judicial system figuring out whether that's a catch or not. I don't know what to say. I'll be arguing that all week with probably the next 6 weeks or 8 weeks about that. But it's a dramatic moment that I don't remember seeing that sort of battle for number one in December at that point. Legendary court. I mean, all of it just played well for big TV ratings if it comes back 6 weeks from now.
Well, it's like our good friend Howard Cosell used to say, it's the ultimate thrill of victory or agony of defeat. You get the thrills and chills and stuff you talk about, and look, they were playing for home field advantage in January, and that's what it's all about. Pittsburgh didn't want to go to Foxborough, and Foxborough didn't want to go to Pittsburgh. So it was a wonderful game. It came right down to the last play. As NFL fans, what more could you ask for? I was thoroughly and highly entertained.
Dennis, always good to have you on, man. I know you'll be here on Thursday. It's a big holiday week for you. You'll be out there at Coons Ford. Tell me what's going on at Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. As well, I should say that when the Orioles deal Manny Machado this week, and I know they're going to do it, Den, we're going to send you the WNST tech service, and you'll find out the 4 names that Mr. Angelos is scratching his head and saying, is this kid high A or low A? Tell me about that, Dan. So anyway, that's the WNST tech service, also powered by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. I know you have holiday stuff, so bring it on. Tell me all the good stuff, man.
Hey, just year-end clearance sale. We're clearing the decks of all 2017s. Nestor 0% for 72 months, plus cash back, plus high 125% of KBB, Kelly Blue Book trade value. You couldn't ask for a better environment to come to Coons Baltimore Ford and save a ton of money right here, right now. We also show you some tax savings if you happen to own a business. So give us a call, 410-298-3800. You can ask for me. Be more than happy to talk to you.
Do I get a special discount for wearing a purple Santa hat onto the lot?
Yes, you do. You get a full tank of gas.
All right, there you go.
Absolutely.
Dennis Koulatsos, Coons Ford, Security Boulevard. We'll see you on Thursday, Den.
You got it. Thank you, my friend.
3 until 5. It is the Sunday Sports Voice, now heard on Thursday. You can follow him at the SSV on WNST. All of our WNST programming here can be found out online at Facebook, at Twitter, at LinkedIn, at Snapchat, at Instagram, including live on our Facebook Live and our YouTube WNSTV channel. Our morning newspaper delivers to your email inbox free of charge each and every morning at 7 a.m. That's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month, never any commitment. 2018, it's calling you. It's saying, come to Planet Fitness. Learn more at planetoftriumphs.com as well. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.